And welcome, friends and foes, once again to another edition of the Space and Earth Weather. We've got a coronal mass ejection headed our way as far as we're concerned here at the Smash News Network, least busted name in news. We've got new sunspots forming, a reduction in solar activity in general, and plenty more to cover. So here's some SDO imagery. That's yesterday and today. And here we see some new sunspots. So we've got two new sunspot groups. One just rose over here and one's just ahead of that. It'll be more evident in the colorized magnetogram. So this group right here, that is already a sunspot. It's already beta class. This one having just risen just behind it. I think it's actually beta class as well. We'll show you more in-depth coverage of that toward the end of the video. Taking a brief look at seismic activity. It's still quite calm, and the 7 magnitude earthquake drought certainly is continuing. Largest quake of the past 24 was a 5.1 north of New Zealand's North Island here in the Kermadec Trench area. South Sandwich Islands also saw a 5.0. Vanuatu saw a 5.0. So there it is. There's the largest quake of the past 24 hours. That was just this morning at 1:09 Universal Time. Very seismically calm in the past, well, really in the past 90 days, but certainly in the past week especially. Very low numbers of earthquakes. One interesting one to note here is also this 4.8 at Iceland. That came in at 13:45 yesterday, Universal Time. And I say it's significant because of volcanoes under the Isle of Iceland. So looking at volcanoes here, what's erupting? Well, Šiveluches. It's an uptick at Šiveluche as it explodes. It's been producing a 14,000-foot plume of volcanic ash, flight level 140 over the Kamchatka Peninsula. Sakurajima has had its alert level raised to level 5, the most high level that it can be raised to. Evacuate the danger zone. Lava bombs have been ejected up to 2.5 kilometers east of the crater. It has produced a 5,200-foot plume of volcanic ash. Don't attempt to pole vault the caldera. Subinosejima, flight level 060. It's a 6,000-foot ash plume over the Ryukyu Islands. And moving to Indonesia, the Isle of East Java features Semeru exploding. 14,000-foot ash plume from Semeru. Dakono, 8,000-foot ash plume from Dakono. Moving to central Mexico, Popocatépetl, no volcanic ash plume size listed. It has dispersed its volcanic ash. Fuego's exploding in Guatemala. Flight level 160. It's a 16,000-foot ash plume from Fuego. And moving to South America, we see Nevado del Ruiz exploding. 23,000-foot ash plume from Nevado del Ruiz. 22,000-foot ash plume from Sangay in Ecuador, as Sangay also exploding. No detected volcanic ash on satellite imagery from Revenador. Don't assume it's not erupting. And moving down to Peru, we see Sabancaya exploding, flight level 240 from Sabancaya. And again, please don't pole vault the caldera. All right, let's get to our regularly scheduled space weather. And here's the house favorite wavelength. 171 angstroms from the SDO. So we did have some C-class intensifications. We'll get to it. Here we've added 94 angstroms to the 171 angstroms wavelength. Again, at least 2 new sunspots. Somewhat likely to be named today. We'll have to see if they remain visible from the earthly portion of the solar disk for 12 hours or more. The 10.7 centimeter radial flux, sometimes also referred to as the F107, is at 107. 107 solar flux units is where that is. So that's the most correlated to sunspot number data set that we have. The radio flux discovered in 1947 by some Canadians using some World War II radio equipment. The plot here is the black line is the radio flux, the red line is the sunspot number, And the blue line is the post-dam AP index, the interplanetary magnetic field. Now, NOAA's not forecasting any coronal mass ejection strikes. We are. We're expecting one to happen on the 27th. So early to midday on the 27th, sometime in that frame right there, expecting to see a minor coronal mass ejection strike. We'll have to wait to see what happens. If you look at the Space Weather Enthusiast dashboard forecast, NOAA has that coronal mass ejection almost fully missing, if not fully missing, Earth. In fact, it's not even, it is showing something off to the west. I think there is a component of that that will strike Earth. We'll just have to see what happens on Wednesday, the 27th. So here's Earth's magnetohydrodynamic pressure, which has been dropping over the past day. We're seeing the subsiding of a high-speed coronal hole wind stream before another one shows up, most likely. But this is the last 4 hours, and you can see Earth's magnetosphere here attempting to reach static equilibrium. Plasma pressure, magnetohydrodynamic pressure, getting a little bit lower here. So that was Earth's magnetic moment from space. Here it is from the ground, Earth's magnetic moment, that is. The scale here is nanotesla, and both of these 4-hour geospace movies are based on the space weather modeling framework. If you want to read that, head to either of those pages. Scroll down to the bottom. It's part of the Space Weather Prediction Center. Click on details. You'll find a link to the space weather modeling framework. Geomagnetically calm conditions as that coronal hole high-speed stream subsides. So there you go. KP1 is the current situation of the planetary K index. K index at 1. K. So next we're going to look at the real-time solar wind to show you that subsiding that we talked about. So there you have that. Solar wind speed dropping down to the low 400s now. 428 kilometers per second for the solar wind speed. Solar wind density 3.6 protons per cubic centimeter. And also you can see the plasma temperature dropping down there. That's the bottom frame, the green line. GOES magnetometer showing a little higher readings here. And we can expect a little higher readings tomorrow as well on the GOES magnetometers. Let's take a look at the heliospheric current sheet. Earth lies in a south pole current sheet, and I would now expect Earth to remain there for the foreseeable future. South pole current sheet shown here in red, north pole current sheet shown here in green. It's on the opposite side of the sun at the moment. And let's take a look at the line of sight plot briefly. There's the sun's B field in blue, the south solar polar field in red, and the north solar polar field in green. We're watching the migration of that throughout solar cycle 25. Here's our line of sight coronal hole plot. We do have at least one fairly well-defined south pole-oriented coronal hole in the northern hemisphere. Here's the view of that in 193 angstroms ionized iron from the SDO. Some nice filaments up here in the northwest as well. And you can make your own custom movies of that if you like at helioviewer.org. Next we move to the realm of sunspots. And again, we've got some new ones. So 2 new sunspot groups up here in the northeast. And it looks like a new one down here as well. I don't think this one's named yet. So that'll be 3066, 3067, and 3068 if all 3 of those new groups get names. This is actually a composite. This is the continuum, aka visible light N1700 angstroms. Shows you a little bit more detail there. A little bit of a lack of synchronization at the end of the movie. Here's the zoomed out version. And again, likelihood of large flares actually rising here. So despite a general downtick in solar activity, this group here, as it approaches the limb, more likely to produce large flares, followed by this group. So looking at the solar flaring profile here, we did see a C-class flare happen while we did show prep. A number of C-class intensifications, but the general background X-ray output of the sun has been ticking down big time in the past week. 2 weeks ago, we were at around a C-class level of basic output. Now we're more like a B level. So there's, once again, the 3-day chart. There's a 7-day chart. What is up with that? There's a 3-day chart. Yeah, there's a 7-day chart. You can see coming down from a C-class X-ray general output down to a mid-level B-class X-ray output. Here's 94 angstroms. You'll see a number of C-class intensifications there in that wavelength. And we've also included 131 angstroms. Here comes some even more data. No spikes in the proton flux from any of those C-class flares. And here's your star chart. No, Nibiru is not out there. Nibiru is not out there. If it were there, it would be obscuring things, and people with backyard telescopes would be discovering it. Anyway, that's our star chart. We use in-the-sky.org. We've got Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, the Moon, and Venus all up over the skies over Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania. Let us know in the comments what your favorite star is. Besides the Sun, we've got Deneb as ours. And by the way, if you haven't seen smashomash.com/forum, it's free. Check it out. You can post whatever you want there within the confines of the law. We are essentially free speech purists. So here's your solar system forecast. We've got a crescent waning moon as we approach new moon. Here's your 1-week forecast. Here's where things will be in a week. We'll have a crescent waxing by then. That'll be August 1st. Next, some coronagraphs to show some coronal mass ejections. So this is yesterday, and indeed there is some ejecta there. Is it earthly directed? Well, we'll let you know in a moment. Some significant solar flares happening there. Again, that's yesterday, July 24th. And here's today so far, July 25th. Things a little bit calmer at the moment. And let's take a look at the view from Stereo A and the Soho Lasco C3. That's located here at Lagrange point 1. Stereo A located here at Lagrange point 5 on your left. And this will show you if any of those are earthly directed. For you new viewers out there, thanks for tuning in. Congratulations on realizing the channel exists. Earth would be off in this direction from Stereo A, and it would be behind the coronagraph aperture on the Soho Lasco C3. Anyway, none of that ejecta appears to be headed down the earthly pipeline. Let's move on. Here's our hydrogen alpha imagery, and this is from El Teide, Spain. You can see there are a lot of dark filaments here in between Earth and Sun at the moment. The solar corona still fairly rich with filamentary material. It could eject. Don't be surprised if it does. Huge filament down here associated with this sunspot. Continuing on to the NASA GO 16 SUVI. This is the last about 2.5 hours. See these filaments up here in the northwest, and some prominences down here as well. Filaments, prominences, they're the same thing. And it looks like some recent activity here out of this new sunspot group. I think that's going to be known as Sunspot 3068. And we'll show you a close-up in high res of that. First, a 24-hour SDO video in this same wavelength. You can see the delightfully higher resolution. This coronal hole here very well defined. You can see even in the ionized helium wavelength of 304 angstroms, that coronal hole showing up. And continuing on, this is our bonus feature segment. We have decided to integrate this as well as our meteorology segments into our daily space weather videos. So thanks for staying tuned in. Here's our total electron content forecast. Shrink that down to 90% and show a run there. That's going to show you the most likely places for GPS errors. Regular viewers are aware that they are most common around the equator at noontime. So we're seeing some pretty wild swings here of the total electron content. If you're wondering what CTIPE stands for, it's the coupled thermosphere, ionosphere, plasmasphere electrodynamics model. While everything in the universe is certainly not electric, some things are, and Earth's electron content is certainly electric as it's referring to electrons. Feel free to pause the video on this frame if you like. It's showing altitudes of certain objects and things like the Van Allen belts in miles. We'll get to the ionosphere momentarily. First, some more data on electron flux. No charging hazards for satellites at the moment. That's our satellites community dashboard. And the GOES electron flux here appears to be rising as NOAA forecasted. I tended to agree with that. That's the 3-day radiographic measurements from the GOES 16 and GOES 17 at their equatorial geosynchronous orbits. And there you can see NOAA forecasting in those green boxes a continued uptick in the electron flux. Again, I would tend to agree. Here's a 1-year chart to put it in context from solon.info. And let's move to the ionosphere. The F-layer is what we're looking at. And what this image shows, by the way, is the temperature of different portions of the upper atmosphere, the penetration of electromagnetic radiation in both directions. And as you can see, for example, X-rays are filtered out by the mesosphere. Visible and infrared light makes it all the way to the ground. And extreme UV, like what we show from the SDO AIA images, is filtered out by the lower thermosphere. So here's your vibrational frequency of the F-layer. That's the F-layer of the ionosphere, about 300 kilometers of altitude. And we are certainly seeing some anomalies here. They're looking like mainly of the low frequency variety. And we'll show the Anomaly Gram next. So here's the Anomaly Gram. You should see some red popping up there. That's anomaly in megahertz from the 30-day median. We show it daily on one of our channels, and we've been combining all of our content together into one video. Many of our viewers greatly appreciate that, and we're more than happy to compensate. So thanks everybody who's been leaving comments and so on, viewing our community posts, etc. Please visit our websites as well. We'll get to that in a minute. There's the latest image of the ionosphere, 10:15 Universal Time, and there's the Anomaly Gram at 10:15. Next, the latest intensity gram and the latest colorized magnetogram. Why? Because we need to show you these new sunspots. Just bear with me a minute. We are streaming live. There we go. Here's your rock back. And you see the magnetic fields there. That's already a beta class sunspot group. And this one I think is as well. Although it's not fully risen yet. We're giving you the information pretty early. That's the state of affairs. Here's the full zoomed out magnetogram, intensity gram rock back. Could be some more sunspots forming in the southern hemisphere as well down here in the southeast. And we'll bring up one more set of images. How about 335 angstroms? We haven't shown it for a while on the channel. That is yesterday and today. And now it's time to die. Just kidding. It's time to go to the realm of meteorology. Yes, I discovered about 20 years ago that it's way too easy to forecast the weather. and I needed to expand my horizons into something a little more exciting. Hence the space weather. But here's some Earth weather, and we're starting things out looking at some very hot water in the northern Pacific Ocean. Check it out, 14 degrees above normal. Some hot water in the North Atlantic here as well, off of the coast of Newfoundland and Nova Scotia. Shout out to Ricky, Bubbles, and Julian. 10 degrees Fahrenheit above normal. And looking at a cold spot, here we've got a cold spot. It's called Lake Superior. 5 degrees below normal. Lake Superior remaining cold all summer so far. And let's switch to the air world. Like sands through the hourglass of time, these are the surface winds of the eastern world. Shout out to our video viewers from all around the planet. So that's the current state of affairs. Some strong winds here in the Southern Ocean south of Australia, and some strong winds here off of the west coast of New Zealand. Maybe some great surf washing up there. Here are the jet streams, and a huge kink in the jet stream there, right at New Zealand. And you should have fairly average temperatures over most of Australia. Very chaotic jet stream in the northern hemisphere here. You can see some warm air being blown up toward the pole, and some cold air being blown down toward Siberia. And bless you, Smash staff. Here is the jet stream scenario of the Americas. Let's rotate that a little more. There we go. And once again, the lower portion of the U.S. is a giant anticyclone. You can see this clockwise rotation here, the telltale sign of high pressure. And lots of convective forces at play here. You've got this counterclockwise rotating low pressure system here in northern Mexico. Fairly incoherent jet stream there in the northern hemisphere. Here are the surface winds. Strong low off the west coast of southern South America. Here are the surface winds of the central world, Europe, Africa, and the Middle East. And these are the jet streams. That's where we'll end our nullschool.net portion of the video. And let's continue on. Today's featured product is the Smash Team. Thanks to all of our members of the Smash Team, especially gold and silver members. There's also a bronze membership level. Perhaps help us out with some Smash Team merch. So this design featuring a military-style old-school Jeep. In 2018, a crack YouTube unit was sent to social media prison for a crime we didn't commit. We promptly escaped a maximum security social media stockade to the internet underground, where we survive as producers of fortune. If you have a problem, like nonsense on YouTube, and if nobody else can help, and if you can find the content, good luck with that. Maybe you can hire the Smash Team. You can find links below the video to our Redbubble products. They are sorted in order via our link. They're sorted in order of best selling. That's today's featured product. And there is our website, smashomash.com/smashteam. We replaced Patreon with something superior, our own website. Once again, thanks to Gold and Silver Smash Team members. We've got a credit crawl coming back your way, by the way. Credit crawl is coming back. And by the way, you can also get a different design of this with your 1-year paid subscription membership. Yes, there's a 1-year paid subscription membership, which is by far the best value. It's similar to getting 4 months free of charge at the gold membership level. Links to there, as well as the Redbubble shop and our social media on our homepage. Welcome to the Neo Renaissance is the headline at smashomash.com. You can still contribute via Patreon as well. And why not give Smash staff a raise by pressing like, subscribe, share, and visiting our websites. Thanks again to everybody who has. Thanks to everybody who puts up with the YouTube platform. Once again, congratulations on realizing that the channel exists. It's only the most in-depth space weather on the entire internet and the most detailed imagery of the closest star on the entire internet. No big deal. That's what we do at the Smash News Network. Least busted name in news. This video was originally streamed live to Twitch. Thanks to our Twitch followers. Maybe download their mobile app. You'll see when we go live, it'll actually send you a notification. Let's get back to the weather. Something going on in the Pacific Northwest. It's a series of flash flood. Excessive heat watches? Looks like excessive heat watches up there in the Pacific Northwest. Anyway, if your county is lit, click your county. We can't go over all of those warnings. But there are some flood warnings and some heat advisories continuing in the mid-Atlantic states. As far as lightning goes, there's been a lot of it over the past about 12 hours. Check out the lightning. Huge portions of the country there experiencing some thunderstorms. And let's check the real-time lightning map to see if there are terrestrial strikes, and indeed, there do appear to be some. Some over central Pennsylvania, indeed. How about Williamsport? Hey, Williamsport, you're in the crosshairs. There are some thunderstorms rolling your way, and there's a strike right in Williamsport. Yes, the upper Schuylkill Valley. Some spectacularly beautiful terrain up there. You can find the Grand Canyon of Pennsylvania in those areas. And there is some additional lightning there around Indiana, Pennsylvania. Anyway, that's our real-time lightning map coverage. Check out lightningmaps.org next time you hear thunder. I do it regularly. And check it out. You've got Putin's Russia. You've got Putin's lightning over here. That's Putin's lightning. Putin is using geoengineering to create that lightning, folks. He's spraying metallic particles for planes and using HARP to control your life, as well as 5G. Just kidding, folks. That's all a series of nonsense from people who do not understand basic physics. Continuing on, here's our windy.com map. They've got a great mobile app as well, and we've got a huge anticyclone here in the North Pacific. So there's another high pressure. You can see this once again, clockwise rotation happening there. And the North Atlantic also dominated by high pressure, just not as high as that. Continuing on, and we're going to create a forecast map for you here. This was not available when we did show prep. It was a little too early in the morning, so bear with me a quick moment. And we'll bring up the 72-hour GFS pressure and precipitation forecast. Go away. Go away. Once again, this is the GFS pressure and precipitation forecast for the next 72 hours. That's where we're expecting rain and pressure cells to be located based on the GFS model. And continuing on, we've got only a couple more frames to show you here, folks. We've got the U.S. Doppler radar map. We're hoping. Let me press refresh. Please animate. Please animate. We are streaming live, by the way. And the weather.gov map is not cooperating. That's radar.weather.gov, by the way, if you want to check that out on your own. There we go. It's loading. Yes, there's the all 50 state animated view. And we've got some precipitation in southern Alaska once again. Here is the lower 48 close-up as some rain sweeps across Pennsylvania. Here's your shortwave radiation satellite. It's 3.9 nanometers. And the jet stream having some influence here. You can see some cold air blowing down here across Lake Superior, the northern Great Lakes, etc., and into Pennsylvania, creating a huge pressure gradient here. This minor low pressure system being accentuated by this cold, dry, and massive air from the Great Lakes region. here's your recap. I'll press refresh again. We're going to close out with the U.S. Doppler radar from radar.weather.gov. Clouds and fog at 3.9 nanometer infrared radiation. Part of the NASA GOES interactive weather satellite suite, and we think it's sweet if you're able to forecast your own weather. Understanding the physics really helps things out. And pressing like, subscribe, and share really helps us out. So thanks to everybody who's tuned in. Once again, congratulations on realizing the channel exists, and may that solar wind be at your back.